Welcome everyone to GeoGebra Part 2, and our presenter today is Krista Mosier. She is a trained PD, professional development field specialist, and I welcome her today. And let me go ahead and let her unmute herself. And go ahead, Krista. You're on.
All right. Am I here? Or am I there?
You are here. You are here and there and everywhere.
Okay, excellent. Good morning. So glad to have all of you back. I see a couple of different names, but so I'm really glad you're here, and we've got some good stuff for this hour. So let's just kind of get started here. And get our math faces on, get all those fun things rolling in our heads. So just to look at our objectives, we are going to review the GeoGebra website because I think there are a couple of people that are new. If anybody had an opportunity to try some activities, I want to give you an opportunity to share if you did. And then I've picked out some really kind of exciting activities, at least I thought they were exciting, for us to look at individually just as more examples of what's already on the site. And then Anne Marie is going to take it and do talk about she can say it, the learning disabilities with math and how this website can be used for those as well. All right, so let's get started. First of all, just to remember some of the caveats of this site. There are several activities, and they're built and shared by anyone who wants to be an author, but that also means that the quality can vary. So make sure that any of the activities that you choose, you can see what to do with it. There's a couple that I've just totally rejected because there was no instructions or it didn't do what I thought it should do. So that kind of goes to that second bullet of that some activities do not provide specific directions for students. Another neat thing is that you can create your own activities, or if you find another activity, you find an activity that you like but you want to change it, you are able to modify other activities. And then, again, best practice for most of the activities is to work with your students. This is not a site that you can just put your students on and say, here, go to it. It is best used as a tool and with guided practice with your students, especially if you have a smart board or other interactive medium. It really, really can help. All right. So, at this point, is there anybody on that actually had a chance to do some of the activities this past week? Or past 2 weeks? All right, Gareth has his hand up. Gareth, if you want to unmute yourself and give us a quick share of it.
Okay, Gareth, Gareth, did you want to share? Okay, so he says, I found some that would be good for teaching functions. He still had his hand up from before. Okay, let's see if anyone else had a chance. Oh, Rosa's got her hand up. Rosa, did you? Oh, go ahead, Krista.
Okay, no, go ahead. Yes, Rosa, please share with us.
Let's make sure that she just didn't have her hand up from before. Rosa, did you want to share? We can unmute you. Just let us know in the chat pod if you want to share. Okay, I'm not sure if she Okay, so we'll go back to Rosa. How about anyone else? Did anybody else have a chance to play around with it or use it? And I do see a lot of new people. Okay, no, but I found it embedded in a tool called Formative. Ashley, do you want to kind of share a little bit, or it's up to you?
Well, I can share a little, but I can't really tell you much. Can you even hear me? Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
no.
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't planning on talking. Okay. No, I was just going to say, if you're familiar with Formative, that's a great way to use math lessons. But I did find it with, I believe it was a graphing lesson, and so you can actually take GeoGebra and actually embed it into this lesson. So it basically, my point is, it plays well with other technology out there. But that I haven't done it myself yet.
Okay, awesome. All right. Let's see, Rosa. Do you have audio?
I think she's got audio, but I'm not sure. She's got her hand up, but we've got. Okay, so Tracy Wong says, yes, I was able to embed the material in Blackboard. Wow. Also, the testing module works on Moodle, but she hasn't had a chance to play with it yet. Okay. Has anybody had a chance to look in the library of all the lessons or anything? Or everybody's very busy, I guess.
Yes,
Krista.
I understand. I understand completely. Okay. Well, I know Rosa had emailed me and said that she had done at least looked at it and stuff. So so I'm glad she did that. And let's see, Tracy. You're right. You said that some does not work correctly, and that's exactly right. And that's why you have to be very careful and very particular. And it does take a little bit of time on your part to make sure the activities are going to work and do what you want them to do. So, anybody else?
I don't see anybody else got their hand up. Rose is actually having connection problems. That's the issue. So I'm going to try to help her, but I don't see if anybody else has had any other questions.
And that's okay. And Gareth, you don't have to be sorry. It's all good. It's just, again, this is one of those sites that there's so much to it, and sometimes we get so involved in what we have to do day to day that it's hard to put in new stuff. So, so let's look at some activities. Let me that I have that I went through and pulled out and have on my favorites, and kind of discuss some of these things. So we are going to look at 5 different activities. One is multiplication of natural numbers, then fraction addition, area of triangles, surface area of rectangular prisms, and then graph the line. So I'm going to hopefully share my screen and take us to the site itself. All right, so here's our GeoGebra website. Okay, so again, if you weren't here last week, this is the home page, and I am going to go to my resources, and I'm going to go to my favorites. And the way that you do this is that you create your own account, and as you come to activities that you like, it's the best is to put them in favorites because they kind of shuffle around on the site, so you may not be able to find what you're looking for. So I'm going to go to my favorites, and you can see I have several here. So my first one that we're going to look at is the multiplication. All right, and this is just a real, very, very simple slider activity, but if you have your lower levels, sometimes it's hard for them to see multiplication. So right now you can see we have rows of 10 and columns of 10, and it shows over here columns times rows equals 100. If I push that slider down to, let's say, 8, you can see how that brings the grids down, and I'm going to go over here to 8. So I have 8 and 8 is 64. So you can visually see that block getting smaller and with 64 grid. All right, and you can do, let's say, 5 times 5 is 25. So again, it's just another visualization of multiplication, of watching the grid get smaller, and you can count them if you want, if they don't believe it. Because sometimes, our students don't believe it, so they may need to sit there and count it. But again, it's just a visualization. Yes, good point, the surface area. So that's just a real simple, very simple one. Let me go back to my favorites, and now we're going to look at fraction addition. And I really like this one. All right, so this is awesome because you can already just look at it and you can see that we have the graphic of 2/3 and the graphic of 1/4. We have the actual fraction over here. So the first thing you do is just push this add button, and it shows the adding of the two fractions. But this still doesn't help us because we know we have to find a common denominator. So I was looking at this, and the way I was doing it is I went from each fraction. So they put this expand, so I'm going to click the plus sign, and it shows multiplying both the top and the bottom by 2 and getting a new fraction. So I came down here and pressed this plus sign, times 2, 2/8. And when they do this, you can see that the blocks themselves break up into that denominator. All right, but this still doesn't help us. So I'm going to push a plus again. All right, now my denominator is a 9, and my denominator is 12. All right, we still block it off, but I still don't have a common denominator. So I'm going to press this plus again. Oh, there we go. I have 12 and 12. Okay. Now, once this comes up with your with the common denominator, a little box over here pops up. So if you notice that before that little box wasn't there. So as soon as it comes up with the common denominator, a little box pops up over here. So that's your signal of, okay, I got it. All right, and if you notice, we have their things are all blocked off over here. So in that little box, I click, and there's my new fraction with the common denominators. And then I click again, and it gives me my answer. Okay, so yes, it's a lot of steps, but when we're adding fractions with unlike denominators, it is a lot of steps. And this just kind of breaks it down and shows you visually. And then, so I'm going to reset it, and you can put your own numbers in. So let's do 3. No, I want 3. Well, okay. Maybe I don't get 3. Okay. Plus 2 7. So I'm just picking some. All right. So my boxes change. I click my add, takes my boxes down. I do my common denominators. And what I really like about this is showing the process that you sometimes have to go through each number until a student actually gets it and sees it. All right. And just for time's sake, I'm just going to go ahead and click that since we know that the denominator is 35. And you can see we have all these little bitty pieces. My little box popped up, so there's my indication that I have my denominator. Click, click, and there you go.
Krista, real quick. Gareth has a question. Does it handle numbers greater than 1 in proper fractions?
No, it says input proper fractions, so I don't think it'll do improper fractions.
Okay.
But, okay, let's,
And this is a teachable moment because if you had a whiteboard or a presentation computer, they could see the teacher, doing this just like you are, Krista.
Right, exactly. Okay, so you can see here that it's taken us the 3/5 and 4/5, and it has taken us and showing that it's above, it goes up further than the 1. And I just happen to use the same denominator, and so there you go. Is that what you were looking for, Gareth? Okay. All right. Pretty cool. How could this be used in the classroom? Is this something that could be or could be used in the classroom? Modeling. Anybody else? I'm not catching all of it. Practice for students. Good, Daisy. Thank you. I think I've missed a couple of comments, Anne-Marie, so if there's anything there I need to know.
Yeah, I'm going through here. It says here, well, I want to go back up to Mark had a question. Mark said, would it not be easier to always multiply the denominator? I think maybe he's saying maybe this is a different way to do it, but we don't have that option with this, do we?
Right. And sure, Mark, I mean, as we all know, teaching fractions, multiplying the denominators is always going to give you a common denominator, but if you need the lowest common denominator, that doesn't always give us the lowest common denominator.
And then a lot of just people saying that this is good. Daisy says we have a computer lab on Tuesday, so definitely giving this a try for modeling. Also, yes, Mark, I was going to say that. He says visual, especially with math, and I don't want to give too much away about what I'm going to talk about, but, seeing it as well as hearing it are going to be very important. And then Daisy says, Daisy has a question, how about converting fractions to decimals or decimals to fractions or percents to decimals? Ooh, the fun ones.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just show you real quick. Daisy, there was one that we did last week. Let me see if I can get back to it. Oops. Went a little far. Let me see if I have it. This one, do you remember this one? It showed the decimal and the percents. So so that one, area models for improper fractions, was another activity that to do that. All right. All right. So area of triangles. This is another kind of cool one that I liked. All right, so this one you can see that it's got on the grid. You can see the controls up here. So this guy, this Mr. Krebs, took this and created this activity. So right here we have a rectangle, and he's got this list of different things to do. So this is rectangle to triangle. And if you notice, the rectangle has the area. So this is 18 centimeters, square centimeters. So you do this little slider to convert. So it's going to convert this rectangle to a triangle. And he just kind of cuts it and puts it together. And here's the triangle that comes out of that rectangle. And you can see that the area is now 9. Back and down. Okay. And then if you want to go from a rectangle to rhombus, again, our rectangle is 18. We're going to convert. And if you notice, you can stop it, and he's giving you the areas of the little triangles that he's cutting off. And turn it, turn it, turn it, and there we go. And there's our rhombus for, again, not area of 9. All right. Rectangle to parallelogram. And there we go. And you can see that the area stays the same. It's just configured a little bit differently. Rectangle to trapezoid. Whoops, we can go backwards. So there's our rectangle. And then there's going to the trapezoid, again with the same area. Triangle to parallelogram. All right, so here's our triangle. Changing it to a parallelogram, and look at there, it just doubles it up.
So you've paused. So here's a question from Gareth, and this may not be the right time, but when you're ready, he says, how easy is it to share GeoGebra, a GeoGebra tool that you found? And he thinks maybe you mentioned this last time. Does the little icon in the top right have a bunch of sharing options, or do you have to email people the URL?
Okay, let's see. Sharing. Share, it looks like share the link. And then you can copy the link. So it's probably you would have to actually send them the URL to it. Now, if you had a group, if you had an actual group on GeoGebra, you could send it directly. And I'm sure that it's probably a pretty easy thing to do. Oh, I just copied it to my clipboard. And then one last one was the trapezoid to a parallelogram. Trapezoid, and there we've doubled it.
We got another question from Rosa. Her question is, can you create a class, or is it independent? Okay, that's her question.
I think you can. I think they, instead of the word class, they use the word group. So remember how we looked at the groups last week or 2 weeks ago? And there's a way to create a group, and you can put everybody in there, and then you can assign all the people the same activities that are in your class. So they just use the term group. Yes, I do believe so. If you go to the people, and you can follow them, and then I think there's a way. Oh, I'm now following him. can unfollow. About. All right, so there's an about, and then here's a little link to him completely, directly. Is that what you're asking, Ashley? I'm going to unfollow him because I don't know him. All right. Let's go back to, I've got a couple more here that I want to show. The surface area. Now, this one is limited just because it's just the rectangular prisms, but I'm sure you can find some that's got more. This has got a lot of stuff going on here, though. You have sliders to change your measurements, and then you see the prism. And then what I really liked about this is that it actually has the formula down here. And you know, if you're an ASC teacher, you know how surface area formulas kind of blow our students' minds. And so I really like this because it kind of shows what's going on. So here's our prism, and then here's our net. And they have everything color-coded. So you've got 2 purples, 2 pinks, and 2 greens. And you can see that they color-coded the formula even. That you've got 2 of these rectangles, 2 of these, and 2 of these. And you can change, you can make the prism bigger, wider, skinnier, and everything you do changes the measurements down there and changes the net. Okay, but again, this is a little bit limited because it's just the rectangular prism, but I mean, for our students to just start with the idea of surface area, this can help. Okay. And then, you know, if you were here last week and we showed you all the geometry stuff, that you can actually create your own. Okay. And then one more, which is graph the line. Okay, now this one you actually have to do a little bit of math on, but I have a love-hate relationship with this one. So here is your line, and you have 2 points. So what you have to do is you have to use this line formula, and all of them are in the y equals mx plus b format. So that changes. So the students have to know the slope-intercept formula. And what I do on this, because this is just my easy way, is I always start with the y-intercept. And I know the y-intercept is -4. So you take you just take and pull. So it's at -4. And then I look at my slope, which is 5, and I know there's the rise over run, so it's 5 over 1. So I'm going to go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1. And there we go. And when you get it right, it says you did it. Okay? So you just sometimes it's a hit and miss. And then you do a new line, so 5x plus 3. So again, I know my y-intercept is 3. My slope is 5 over 1, and I'm going to go over. So I'm going to go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, and there we go. Okay?
Okay. So, Krista, great question from Mark. Is there a GeoGebra dictionary to explain terms like net and prism?
I don't know if there's a dictionary on this or not. I mean, those are general math terms, but we can look in just a minute to see if there's a dictionary.
Maybe if you have just a basic math book,
Right.
it will probably tell you too, Mark, if you have one of those in the
Right.
classroom.
And another thing that I liked about this is it also gets into your negative slopes. So like here, this one, a y-intercept is -1, and then I have a negative slope, so you can physically see the line turn to be a negative slope. And I'm not going to be able to get there. So anyway, I just really kind of like this one. Again, it's a good practice for students. All right, so those were some of the activities that I wanted to show. And I've still got your dictionary question, and I will get to that. We'll look and see. Last week or 2 weeks ago, Anne Marie asked about whether you could shade the shapes on the geometry site. So I'm going to go and do that. So I'm going to the Math app of Geometry. And then I'm going to take the settings and I'm going to show my grid. I'm going to show axis and then show my grids, major and minor grid lines, just because I like to have these things. Okay, now I'm going to go over here to my basic tools. I'm going to hit my polygon and I'm going to go ahead and just draw a rectangle. Okay, and if you notice, it's just nice and blue. So, and then I'm going to draw another rectangle. Whoops, I want to actually draw it. Thank you. Okay, so I have my two rectangles here, and I want to change the color of my smaller one. So I'm going to go over and make sure that you click back on the control for the cursor, and then I'm going to come back to my rectangle and just click in it. And when I clicked in it, I get this control bar. The first one is color. So I'm going to make that red, and you can also change the shading of it to make it darker. You can even change the lines for the perimeter. You can label it. So I don't want this Q2, which is I think quadrilateral 2. I'm going to say this is my small guy. And I want to show its label. So now it's named. And if I want to show the value, I can do that as well. Also, and if you wanted to delete it, obviously there's your trash can. If you have the 3 dots, you can duplicate it. You can show the trace and then more settings. But if you notice, it tells you quadrilateral small, so there's my name of it, polygon EFGH. And yes, you can print them by over here. And also, if you go to the settings, it pulls this back out. Okay, and then you can do more color, you can do more styles, you can do advanced scripting and such so on.
If you saved it on your computer, then you could print it.
Right.
And then
yes.
you could do things with these printouts is what I was
Did that answer your question, Anne Marie, as far as shading?
I think it's wonderful.
Okay.
I think it's wonderful. Yep, thank you.
Okay. All right, let's go back to GeoGebra, the home site. And I'm just going to put in the search bar vocabulary. All right, so here we go. Here's some So basic geometry vocabulary, is this kind of what you're talking about, Mark? That's actually pretty darn cool. I like that a lot. And even that's interactive. Awesome. Thanks for the question. So there's a lot of different things in here on vocabulary, so you could really find some stuff. Transversal vocabulary. Awesome. So, cool. Too cool. Alrighty. So, those were the activities that I had picked out. So, I am now going to unshare my screen. I mean, you can see we could be here for days and days and days for things. And I want to pass this over to Anne Marie so that she can talk to us about the learning disabilities, and I think she's got some really good insights on how also to use this website. All right. Okay, you've already got it, so I'm going to mute myself and let you go.
Thank you so much, Krista. And I was thinking that, just remember that when you log on to GeoGebra, on that home screen on the website where she shared with us, there's that resources tab on the far left-hand corner. So that's going to allow you to look up and search for all the different activities. So mark for vocabulary or anything else, and that's where you're going to find everything. So I'm going to go ahead, and I am very excited about this. And before I do that, let me just kind of share with you is that at Train PD, we all kind of have our specialty or our love or our passion, and mine is definitely on helping adults with learning disabilities. And that is actually what my master's degree is in, is helping adult learners that struggle with learning disabilities. And so I'm excited to share this with you, and I've also done work in K through 12 as a case manager for students with disabilities ranging from behavioral to physically disabled to autism and pretty much everything in between. But my love will always be adult ed. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so before we get started, I just want to, everybody, just think about this for a minute. And this word is very difficult to say. I wasn't even pronouncing it right, which was embarrassing to me. It is called dyscalculia. Okay? Quite a mouthful. I almost have to say it 3 times before it comes out right. And I want, without you Googling or just thinking about it, what do you think dyscalculia is? What do you think it is? It is not considered math dyslexia. It's actually, that can very much confuse people. Dyslexia is something completely different that can affect math, can affect reading as well as writing. So it is basically a disability that affects math. Okay, so it is a specific learning disability that has to do with math. So let's not think of it as dyslexia, but everything else that you've brought up is spot on. Okay, Mark says a dysfunction of looking at calculatory symbols in different ways rather than normally. Wow, can't calculate math. You guys are all spot on. So let's go ahead and let me share my screen again. And okay. So, what is dyscalculia? We are seeing what it is, and you guys have all given good examples. So let's break it down a little bit more now. Okay. So dyscalculia disrupts math processes, but I want to explain why. Now, when you have a learning disability, whether it's a reading disability, a math disability, or even a language disability, when someone has a lot of things to tell you, but they cannot get it out verbally. Okay, that is a language disability. That also can affect our students. But dyscalculia, or learning disability, is a neurological processing deficit in the brain. That means that it is intrinsic to the individual. Something happens in the brain, and there's a short circuit. And the way I like to explain this is you have information that comes in, and somewhere in your brain, it short circuits and it doesn't come out the same way. So it is not something also that will go away. It's not that you have a precious little toddler or a child in elementary school and then magically as they grow up, it goes away. A learning disability is something that stays with you for life. And at different points along the spectrum, things that can happen that can give you a learning disability, such as traumatic brain injury, a stroke. So that is some things to think about. So learning disabilities occur across the life spectrum, and they stay with you. So dyscalculia disrupts math processes in computation and problem solving. So you guys were spot on in the chat pod when you talked about basically rote procedures, basic multiplication, addition, subtraction, just the basic computation. And in reading, we talk about something called fluency, right? A person's ability to read rapidly and accurately and with few mistakes. Well, in math, we have the same thing. Math requires you to have fluency, so that can be an issue. How about problem solving? Now, problem solving is a biggie. And when we think of problem solving, you're thinking about those higher order skills. So that's why I get so excited about GeoGebra, because when a student sees a math problem that may include a triangle and a rectangle and a prism and all those different things, down on paper, they're not going to be able to see it, let alone visualize it or understand it. Now, I'm going to be really dramatic here for a minute, and I want you to consider a student that's in your class who graduated from high school but is still struggling with math, but they graduated, and now they're in an adult education classroom, and they're still having trouble keeping up. There's things that they don't understand, and so they get farther and farther behind. Or maybe you have a student in your classes that has passed every one of the GED sections, but is taking the math over and over and over again and is still having difficulty passing it. That can sometimes signal to you that there's a challenge there. In order to diagnose for a learning disability, that needs to be done by a qualified professional, but there are some screening things you can do in your classroom to kind of see if it may be the issue, and I can send you some. But what you don't want to do is tell your student that you think that they have a learning disability, because that can become a legal issue in the sense that unless you have proper credentials, that's a big no-no. But there are screening tools, and that will help you see what they're struggling with. Okay, so moving on. These are some of the things that you're going to see, and we kind of talked about that. Understanding basic mathematics, facts, and calculation skills, and recognizing visual spatial relationships and patterns. And I think that's why I got so excited about GeoGebra when I saw it, and I asked Chris to present, because from a standpoint of word problems and geometry and algebra, this really helps with the visual and spatial relationships and patterns. Being able to use color, being able to use three-dimension, and then those activities that Krista shared with the fractions, being able to see the blocks. Math manipulatives are very good for a student that you may think has a math disability. And then that processing of information requiring critical thinking. If you have a student that is struggling with word problems, drawing it out is very good. Okay, so I want to ask you in the chat pod, how do you see it being used as a resource for students that are struggling in math? Okay, good. Basic calculation. Okay, good. A good visual to help them understand the concepts better. Visual and manual manipulation. Fantastic for visual learners, mostly hands-on. That's right, Rosa. The other thing is that, and this is something that I've learned from over 15 years of working with students with special needs, and that is the worst thing that you can do with a math student is talk at them for long periods of time. So if you're going to do direct, explicit instruction, it's got to be short periods of talking followed by practice, 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 practice. Okay? They've got to have enough time to go over it, and keeping in mind that you may have to explain the same activity 30 different times, 30 different ways. Does that ring home for some of you with the students? So I want to leave you with two resources. One thing, you brought up some excellent things in the chat pod. Basically, it's when you don't ever want to tell a student that they have a learning disability, but the major law that protects students is the Americans with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. You can ask a student if they have a learning disability, and if they choose to tell you, they can. But if they do not tell you, then you cannot push. But asking them if they have a learning challenge is different than saying you have a learning disability, okay? That has got to be left to a licensed psychologist or a diagnostician to make that determination. So anyway, all right, so I just wanted to kind of go over that. So the two things I want to leave you with are basically two resources, and I want you to grab them before you leave. And one of them is a link to a wonderful resource, and it is a resource on, and this will give you much more information than I just did in a whirlwind 15 minutes. This gives you the signs of dyscalculia at different ages, from preschool to grade school to middle school and to high school, okay? And so that'll give you some ideas of what you need to look at. And then finally, the other website I gave you is understood.org. It's www.understood.org, and although don't let the fact that there's a lot of kids on the website fool you, there's a lot of resources on there for helping students with any kind of learning challenge that you can think of, everything in between. So I want to turn our focus back to our presenter today, who did an incredible job, and I want to thank her for two wonderful Tech and Tells. And Krista, thank you so much. And I want to also tell all of you, I wish I could give you a big round of applause right now, but this is the largest Tech and Tell that we've had for many, many months, and I'm beyond excited. So Krista, I'm going to let you say a few words, and thank you again. Yay! Woohoo! There you go.
Yes, thank you for being on today. I really hope get some things out of this. Share and use with other teachers. This will be online in a little while and in a couple of weeks. So share it, use it. have enjoyed getting to know GeoGebra, and so I'm really glad you guys were here. And make sure you do the evaluation so that everybody knows how great I am. I mean, how great GeoGebra is. Just kidding. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you around.
Thank you so much, Krista, and thanks to everybody that stayed 5 minutes over. I know everybody's busy. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.